Warning: Title 17 U.S. Code 512F provides penalties for the deliberate misrepresentation of copyright infringement. The owners and authors of this video, the common denominator, and the Paramystic Broadcast Channel are a nonprofit 501c3 exempt organization and believes in good faith that it constitutes educational fair use, as per Title 17 U.S.C. 107. Persons, agencies, attorneys, and/or social media algorithms filing a false or frivolous Digital Millennium Copyright Act complaint may be subject to civil liability. Warning: the following content may contain elements that are not suitable for some audiences. Accordingly, viewer discretion is advised.
Happy Hump Day, everyone. It's Vincent here. As always, I pledge my allegiance to the Constitution of the United States of America and to the republic for which the flag stands, one nation under Almighty God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Change, believe it or not, is the only constant that keeps the pendulum of life moving. Change is the only constant that keeps the pendulum of life moving. And folks, right now, we are living in a world where the pendulum is swinging left to right, so on and so forth, and no one knows where it's going. Actually, I feel like it's spinning out of control. But there appears to be some hope in the future yet. And before I bring my guest on, I wanted to read to you something I picked up and I thought was very interesting. It's 7 harsh truths about school. 7 harsh truths about school. Nobody wants to know it, but everyone will accept it in the end. Number 1, school is stopping you from pursuing your dreams because they are forcing you to be good at plenty of irrelevant subjects. Number 2, it has nothing to do with making a lot of money, but rather makes you a slave of money. That's it. Number 3, in school, they teach you a lesson giving you tests. The real world gives you a test and then teaches you a lesson. Number 4, school grades are simply the outcome of memory, not indicative of your intelligence. Number 5, schools do not want a nation of thinkers, but a nation of workers. Number 6, school teaches you to follow rules, not to break them. Only the rule breakers are the ones who succeed. And lastly, school teaches you to be good consumers and not a good producer. And throughout my lifetime, tagging on to the very last one in particular, I keep thinking to myself, we're almost like parasites with brains across the board. Not everyone. But that's how I feel like our society is across the board. You know, we have to have the boat, the car, the airplane, 3 cars. We have to have, everything has to be dialed in, and it's gimme, gimme, gimme anymore with some of these younger generations. And as a result of what has been happening in our schools, our younger generation is in fact being dummified, dummied up, has been suppressed in their abilities to be thinking. And more importantly, something I really liked about Donald Trump was his ability to think outside the box. And the gentleman I'm going to introduce to you now is a good friend of mine through the past year plus, almost going on 2 years this fall, and Heath Gilbert. And I'm going to tell you, folks, I think it's time for us to maybe have some news that's, let's just say, more of the positive thinking. Heath, how are you doing, sir?
Very well, Mr. Cooper. How are you, sir?
I am doing good. I love it when you call me Mr. Cooper. It makes me think.
Well, you're old as dirt. I've got to call you Mr.
What's that?
You're old as dirt. I've got to call you Mr. Cooper.
Ooh. Well, I could go places with that, but I'm not going to. I agree with you. I am old as dirt. But Heath, you have a Facebook page. It's called Cameron R-1 School District Exposed, correct?
Correct.
Okay, I'm going to actually, while we're in here, if I can get I've had nothing but problems with my computer all day. Here we go. I am going to write this up right now and get this on a post on the bottom for you. And that's on Facebook, correct?
Yes, it's a group on Facebook that there's a few of us that utilize it, but we distribute information about our struggles with the school district, particularly relating to the dirty book issue that we have going on. And we push out information to the community and show the world what is going on within the Cameron School District. And
Well, I know it's been a very, having known you since October of 22, and believe me, it's been quite a journey for everyone involved. For the better part, most along the way, it's been much of a struggle. But you have this Cameron R-1 Cameron. I actually have that misspelt. That is just horrible. I can't believe I did that. Let me do this one more time. You actually set up this Cameron School Board Exposed, and you are the admin of it. Why did you set this up?
because the Cameron School District is not doing an adequate job of truly informing the public about what's going on within the school district. And by mirroring the name of the Cameron School District, when people look for the school district, they search for it, it is my hope and our hope that that name will pop up, they will see it, and they will also consider the information that we are sharing with the community, and not by hook and line and sinker everything that the school district is trying to make folks believe.
You know, Heath, when I first got involved with this with you, I was very involved with national news, everything, you name it, concerns, international news, national news. But Dan Landy, a partner of ours, a very good man, by the way, in my eyes, and I think you would agree. Mm-hmm. He said something that was quite profound, I felt, that was, rather than try to change the course and direction of our country nationally from our representatives in Washington, D.C., let's look at our community and see what we can do to improve it and make it better.
Yes.
And I really do feel, and I don't know any other way of saying it, I really do feel that the tide is going to begin to turn. But with the Cameron R-1 School District, I don't know if you have your response.
Oh, my sassy response to the new job ad?
Yes. Can we role play for a moment?
Absolutely.
I would like to read the Cameron R1's school request, and then I would like for you to read your response. And by the way, Heath, I wanted to tell you, there are so many people, believe it or not, that are actually wanting this type of individual, but I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag just say, I'm going to like you, that want this type of individual in the schools. And I find it to be quite entertaining. So I'm going to read what they're looking for in a job request from an applicant. Is that correct? That's what they're looking for?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to read this, and then I'm going to have you respond, if you don't mind.
You bet.
So Cameron R1 Schools states, the Director of Communications and Community Relations, the Cameron School District, is interested in hiring someone who can plan and conduct the district's public relations communications designed to support the educational programs and services of the district by keeping staff, parents/guardians, students, and public informed of the district's programs, accomplishments, and points of view in accordance with district policies and procedures. A bachelor's degree is preferred. Other qualifications as found satisfactory by the Board of Education, background in the field of education preferred, excellent oral, written, and interpersonal skills and project management, proficiency with current technology for performance of duties, including website and social media management. The Cameron R-1 Public School does not discriminate in its programs, services, activities, facilities, or with regard to employment. Now, Heath, if you could give us the actual truth, because I loved your answer. And I'm going to take myself out of the screen for this so everyone can see you read this. This was your response.
Okay, it's a snotty response, and it's just me picking at the district and emphasizing what I believe is the reality of the situation. They are losing the fight with this page. I'm bringing a lot of stuff to light, and they don't like it. So I have reposted the ad for seeking employment, and I have changed it to say the Cameron R-1 School District is seeking applicants for the political position of Minister of Truth. Comrade Minister will answer directly to Matt Robinson. The Minister of Truth will be responsible for countering the narrative of social media content the district deems to be misinformation. These peasants and their opinions, which undermine the goals of the district, must be silenced with our own propaganda. All Minister of Truth applicants must be willing to excuse district actions at all cost and continue to avoid transparency. I hope I don't have the hiccups here. Duties will include ignoring reasonable requests from the public and only responding with approved narrative. Grade level proficiency ratings are tanking in Missouri in the Cameron School District. The Cameron School District spends millions of tax dollars each year on students, but fails to increase grade level proficiency. Ministers of Truth must be able to justify significant increases to administrator salaries while avoiding the topic of falling proficiency rates. The smut and smut topics being provided to students in our libraries and classrooms must be avoided at all cost. The inaction of the Board of Education to lead on the smut book issue will not be discussed. The approved narrative for questions relating to the board and books will include frequent use of the words diversity or inclusive to be combined with book restriction form. Extra consideration will be provided to applicants who demonstrate the ability to denigrate our detractors with colorful and witty language. A few examples of recommended language include the following words: clown, racist, misogynist, bigot, ringmaster, intolerant, and conservative. Only serious woke applicants need apply.
You know, you actually wrote, or should I say you rewrote, what they really should have put in there, because that's what they are looking for.
I believe.
And hands down, I mean, it was absolutely wonderful I said a response, you're correct. It's not really, it's just rewording this, but you made some notes of in this as well that were very, very key, in my opinion. For instance, they only want to talk about how great the school is and all the positivity that the school has, blah, blah, blah. When in reality, they are being very deceptive, because the grade point averages of these children, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe you said only 40% or 40 out of 100 students are proficient at reading, writing, and arithmetic. 40% of them.
40.5% are proficient in reading. Math is a little bit different, but it's pretty close. I think there are 43. You know what? I've got the page open up here on my computer. I can look and tell you exactly. The math grade level proficiency is 44%.
That means only 44 out of 100 students can do math. Now, they use the word proficiency. They no longer go with a grading system. Is that correct? An A, B, C, and D?
Yes. Unfortunately, the state of Missouri is the one that determines the grade level proficiency. So the Missouri Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. And they are essentially grading on the curve. They assign what is called a cut score. And the cut score is determined through magical math that they don't share with the community after they have received all of the test scores for every district in the state. They compile that information and they determine a cut score. And generally, the grade of the score is anywhere from a 250 to a 650. And with the cut score assigned, so they're grading on the curve, a score of 450 is what they consider to be grade level proficient. And that changes every year. It's a little bit different from year to year. So we're stating, the state is stating, that 50 to 60% accuracy on the test is proficient.
You know, it sounds almost like they're okay with mediocrity. Mediocre students that, as I had stated earlier, you know, they want us to be a nation of workers. In other words, you could stand there and tighten a bolt or a screw, install a door, whatever, and so on and so forth. They don't really want thinkers. What do you think the problem is that they don't want independent free thinkers? What is the problem?
Well, forgive me here. I'm gonna answer a different question than what you asked before I get to what you asked me.
Okay.
The cut score is not just a problem in the state of Missouri. There are most of the states that have a similar system in place, and it is, I believe, done deceptively because we spend more than $1 billion a year just in the state of Missouri on public education. That's just one state, and we don't have a very big budget when you compare it to states like California, Florida, and Texas. Those states have a massive, massive budget. They're doing the same thing, and this is pushed out in part because of how much money we're spending. If the people knew how many of our tax dollars were being spent in the true education that our kids were getting in public school, folks would lose their minds. So the cut score is being assigned to cover up how inept they are and how bad the system really is. They're grading on the curve, so it appears like we're doing okay, when in reality we're not. And of course, the teachers' unions are involved in this because there is so much money to be made. And they being the teachers' unions, are responsible for a large part of that budget in the things that they have pushed, and they can't have the average Joe taxpayer to know how bad this system really is. And that's how and why they've come up with a cut score. And after one state starts to do it, they're essentially lowering their standards. So when the first cut score was assigned, that state had a higher proficiency rate across the board because they're fudging the numbers. And for the other states to be able to compare, they had to do the same thing. It is managed failure. You're absolutely right. Yes. But to get to the question that you asked, of course they don't want kids that are truly capable of thinking for themselves, because then they won't believe the narrative that they're being told. They won't believe that if you're standing 6 feet from somebody, you're not going to get these little particles that have been expelled from somebody else's lungs that are going to fall on you. That if you get an inoculation, you're going to be safe. That the human body's ability, the immune system, isn't effective at fighting off an infection. That natural immunity is not something that we need to depend on. If folks are able to think critically, they can't push that stuff onto the people and have them accept it. Of course they don't want informed, critical thinkers. They want folks that follow orders.
You know, I think that's what has made, I think one of the things that has made our nation, and I'm going to say it like this, the greatest nation currently in this world or in the universe as we know it, is the fact that We've had so many people that were so creative, inventive, that were dreamers, that set goals for themselves. And even when they set some of those goals, they even set higher goals in hopes to do better and achieve more in what's known as a capitalist society. We are a capitalist society still.
We're supposed to be.
We're supposed to be. And we should be welcoming with open arms. We should be welcoming with open arms new thought processes which can improve a product, maybe create something new altogether that is something that's easier to live with and work with and so on and so forth. And yet they don't want that out of our students. They don't want the kids to say, hey, I could grow up to be whatever it is they really truly want to be. They're squelching the dreams of these students, I think, in this teaching method, because there's just no ambition or drive within these kids themselves. And I of course, I can't blame it only on the schools.
No.
I blame it also mostly, number one, on the parents.
Yes.
I know of I know two people who are parents
Okay.
of two young men. And technically, one lives up in the attic, the other one lives in a basement. They're in their mid-30s, early 40s, and they are about as useful as they're just not. And one of them even has, I believe, a child. And I don't know how he supports that child. I don't want to get involved too deep with it. But here are two, what I consider to be grown men living with mommy and daddy at the age of 35 to 40. And I'm going to go actually between 38 and 42. Is that really what our country is going to end up being in another 10, 15 years? Are just a bunch of kids that are going to be living at home, doing nothing, by the way?
Well, just if the economy continues the way that it's going with inflation, folks that are young won't be able to afford a home. So, yes, in that regard, absolutely, they're going to have to. They won't be able to have a child and be able to pay for a mortgage. They're not going to be able to do it. The barber shop that I go to, they just increased their prices $3.
Wow.
And I'm not mad at them. I'm not saying they're wrong for doing it. They're having to do it because everything is more expensive. Their costs are going up.
Their costs are going up for insurance, gas, water, rent, lease, probably if they don't own the building. The taxes are going up.
Yes.
It's just mind-boggling that we're seeing it in our little towns. How kids are not even, I don't even want to use the word lazy. They don't know better. And up until I think I told you this, until a couple weeks ago, I've always said when I walk into a convenience store, and I say this to myself, by the way, I don't like to insult people whatsoever, but sometimes I look at them and I'm like, are you really that stupid? I just gave you a $5 bill. It was $4.85, and you don't know on your own to count out 15 cents. And you know what? In my mind, I want to say I'm sorry to every one of them, because I would never say that to them. But it's because I think the parents aren't involved. The schools don't care. They only care about the money factor. And in this case here, with this little job proposal that they've got going, they're doing this to go after you personally.
It's damage control for sure. They're taking a figurative bludgeoning with the content that I'm putting out on that site. And I think that is effective. They see that it is effective, and they have to be able to counter the narrative. They have to make it about the personality and not about the issues. And I'm trying to change from being about the personalities, me and Dan, to about the issues, so the stuff that's going on in the district. If we can change the opinion of the public and make this about the issue, I believe that we will win. If the district is able to keep it about the personalities, about the mean guy that harasses them all the time, then they're going to win. And that pendulum is swinging, and I believe that this is in part due to that.
Well, we've got a lot of different media sources available within Cameron. I think I just want a little latitude, please, sir. Because I told you I wanted to talk my opinion, because I don't want you to be tainted or tarnished by my thought. But Chris Ward of the radio station WQQWK or whatever it was down there in Cameron, I approached him about a year ago plus, asking for some time on the radio for you, for Dan, for others in the group to come on and have a discussion with the general public that are listening, to offer them what you've been finding. And you are documenting everything you've done. You have good documentation. I know that firsthand. And so it's not like all of you, or the few of you, myself included, I guess, are really wanting to just put people down. We're wanting to get some change done that's critical right now, that needs to happen now. And actually, Heath, correct me if I'm wrong, you'd be over elated with joy if some of these things could have already been taken care of well over a year ago when they were first addressed to the school board and the administration, correct?
Oh, without question. I'd be more than happy to go back to living out here in the country, minding my own business and not having any engagement with the community. It was a very comfortable life. I enjoyed it out here with my family, my wife. We're very content out here in our own little piece of heaven. I would love nothing more than to be able to go back to that in the pursuit of the things that are more interesting to me. I don't like this fight, but if I don't do it, who's going to?
And you're absolutely correct, sir. 100%. And that's how I met you, I'm going to say it. I admired your gumption. I admired your approach. I respected you in your efforts to address the disgruntled, non-concerning, disrespectful school board at that time, back in October of 22, and just said, wow, this guy's onto something huge. And they did everything they could to stop you. And you know that as well as I do. You actually had to take them to a federal court, and you were successful.
Yes.
And everybody know this: Heath did not get a penny of a settlement, did you?
No, never asked for one.
No, that wasn't what you wanted. And even the littlest that you did want, if I remember correctly, the littlest was an apology. Did you even get that?
No, they refused to apologize.
So I'm sad. I'm sad for you. I'm disappointed in them, and I'm sad for the community, because really, in them not being able to come out and just flat out say, hey, we got caught, we're wrong, whatever, we're going to make this right. They basically are continuing, i.e. example, just like trying to get someone to cover their keisters as a director of communications and community relations. All they're trying to do is try to prove you wrong. And I don't think they've got the chops to do that, do they?
Well, apparently the district doesn't currently have it. That's why they've got a job posting looking for somebody to give them a hand.
Well, I'll tell you what, I have a feeling that person, that individual, is going to have a very difficult time trying to, quote, battle you. And if I may, You were reflected. Dan was reflected a couple weeks ago. We've had a new publication in the area. It's called the Clinton, I believe it's called the Clinton County Leader, correct?
Yes.
The Clinton Leader. And you guys were actually viewed as bullies. And believe me, that's probably the least of words that someone could be called. But I think that the editor, his name is Jamie Honeycutt, I think that he's somehow has turned around and started giving a new point of view, which is more of the journalistic nature of truths and facts, correct?
Yes, and it is so refreshing to finally have a local paper that is truly reporting upon what is going on in the district. We've not had that to this point.
He's actually calling those teachers and staff members out now for what they actually are, correct?
Well, he's not calling them out for what they are. He is calling them out and challenging them to defend the content that I read at Tuesday's meeting. So a week ago Tuesday. What is the educational value of this content? What is the literary value of it? Why is it necessary to be in the hands of kids? He's asking them and even challenging them to step up and defend it.
And that you're right. It wasn't that. Yes, he was reporting and specifically what they were saying and letting the public know that, hey, we want these dirty books. 3 teachers got up there.
Yes.
And they were wanting the dirty books. And the public doesn't, I guess the public doesn't seem to be either aware of it or they don't care about it. But we are challenging this because it's the right thing to do, morally speaking. And more importantly, we would like to see everything going back to education rather than diversity, inequity and inclusion. Equity and inclusion. We don't want that DEI. I call it DIE. We don't want that stuff in our schools.
I agree.
It's divisionary. It sets people apart. It only creates, and they even said, wow, there's so much friction. Well, yeah, right now there is friction. It's you folks that are labeling us, for instance, a group that we represent and we care about, the good parents and the children. You're actually, and I've seen this nationwide, believe it or not, it was on the news this morning. The government is going after the parents, veterans, Christians, and calling them all terrorists. And if I am guilty of any of those 3, I'm okay with being called a terrorist because that's their label for me or label for people as such. So he has been very good about quoting precisely what they're saying. And again, what they're saying is they want these books in the school, but the flip side of this was how I believe the term is how they are beginning to feed upon themselves. Because actually those 3 teachers were also very upset with the school superintendent, Matt Robinson.
Correct. Yes. And they affirm, by the way, the things that we have been saying for nearly a year and a half now. There's a lack of transparency. They don't do the things that they tell us they're going to do. And there are, unfortunately, even cases where they have bald-faced lied to us. And those 3 teachers that want those books back on the shelf for the kids to read said the same thing about the same people.
You and I had discussed about, again, because I want to only endorse the media within this town that's doing the right thing. In this case, Jamie Honeycutt is doing the right thing. You and I had a discussion earlier, and I agree with you. I had talked about this a year ago with Jamie Honeycutt And out of professional, and you refresh my memory, and I think you're absolutely correct on this for the answer. I believe as a professional courtesy, and I agree with what you said, he probably didn't want to leave the Trenton area to try to compete with Cameron, knowing that they were technically covering what was going on in that town. He didn't want to get involved in the Cameron business.
Right. The Cameron area has its own paper, and they were supposed to be reporting on Cameron events. The Cameron is literally in the name for the paper. So I think that that's right.
Well, I believe it was in February or March. I reached out to a mutual friend of ours. I'm not going to bring up his name. Mr. Meme. I'll just say
yeah.
Mr. Meme.
Yeah.
And I remember you saying, Vince, blah, 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 this morning. Well, you might have planted the seed, but I really didn't, because Mr. Meme was the one that I gave the business card of Jamie Honeycutt to. And if it wasn't for him, I guess, he's fabulous with building people up. I think you would agree. Yeah. He prefers to build people up. But the memes that he has are for those that are the clowns. And so he likes to entertain the clowns. But he's the one ultimately, Heath, I believe, that really got Jamie Honeycutt with the Clinton County Leader newspaper involved. And it is so refreshing because, and I know I can see how I'm considered arrogant, sarcastic, incorrigible, abrasive. Thank you. Any more that you could think of, but technically, I always joke around saying those are my finer qualities. But truth be told, I don't want to be like that. And I know you and Dan never wanted to be viewed as bullies. And I know you're not. But I have a feeling, I have a feeling that if this gentleman it would be refreshing, maybe, in my opinion, to maybe have him say, I've had to reconsider my position of using certain terms. These men aren't bullying. These men are very persistent and passionate about what they're doing for the community of. And Jamie Honeycutt actually wrote, right now we have lost our rural education to the woke. He also asked, where are the pastors, in his article of this past week? And that's a question we've been asking since almost the get-go. I'd say probably well in February. So a year and 5 months ago. Mm-hmm. No doubt. We were seeking the help of pastors. We do have a few churches, I think you know that, or I guess that's wrong. Service facilities, buildings, Christian facilities. I don't know. I call them churches because they're houses of worship. But we do have a few that are on board with what's going on. And then we do have a few that actually are endorsing this. We had Pastor Beasley from the First South Baptist Church joining in lockstep with his daughter, who, again, Edna Beasley wants to promote sexualizing our children.
Yeah, she was one of the 3 teachers that was at that board meeting to try to defend that content. It's unfortunate.
Yes, it is. And with the Ministers Alliance group, there were several other pastors. Another, of course, being David Nixdorf, who is a wrestling coach and I believe a bus driver or a part-time van driver or whatever. He does a lot of good things for the school, and he's very good friends with the retired minister, Dirty Book Dan Kersher. Yeah. And actually, he wrote a piece not long ago, and I'm going to say it to you. He lied in that piece. He did not tell the truth that he was behind us. He was behind the school board. And I didn't like that. So what's it going to take to try to get these ministers to start coming around maybe? What do you think?
Honestly, at this point, if they've not stepped up, I don't know that they will. They're afraid of something, and I can only speculate. I don't know. I've not had any conversations with these folks, but I've got to wonder, what are they afraid of? And the only thing I can come up with is they're afraid that if they take a position, take a stand, and say, look, giving sexually explicit content to children is not appropriate. We need to stand up against this. They're afraid that they're going to lose monthly donations to the church, that their pews they're going to lose people, and they're more afraid about the person being there, honestly, than what they are at preaching to them and saving their soul.
Well, I am going to say this. We're lucky right now, I believe, and I'm going to get the accolades and the attaboy right now to Jamie Honeycutt of the Clinton County Leader newspaper. It's a free publication. You gave me an education on that, by the way. Thank you.
You're welcome.
But I'm going to give him credit for actually reporting the news, because that's precisely what he did. And I don't think that any longer you guys are going to be viewed as bullies or the meanies or the nutcases. I mean, you've had people come after attacking you personally, calling you all kinds of names.
Yeah.
And it really does get down to when people start calling people names, they don't have anything else.
Right.
They've got nothing else. They've got no other legs to stand on. And the next person I wanted to talk to you about is a gentleman by the name of Quentin Lovejoy.
Mm-hmm.
We know him as Q from Q's Views.
Correct.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but he actually had an article written, and I don't believe, and this is my heart of hearts, I don't believe he had this written before the school board meeting, but he had an article that he presented on Facebook on Q's Views, and he had it up in less than 2 hours.
Right. And no, he couldn't have it prepared because he had no idea what those teachers were really going to say. He understood the context of what they were going to get to, but the words that they were going to use, he didn't know until after the meeting.
And that's when he utilized all that information, put it all together, and boom, he put out an excellent piece. He also put out another piece just, I believe, 2 days ago, talking about the words, talking about the people that like to wear T-shirts and so on and so forth, about banning misogynists. And
oh, yeah. Ban bigots, not books.
Do what?
Her shirt said ban bigots, not books.
And basically, these are the only two news sources, personally, that I see, that I'm aware of, that goes out to everyone's home in Cameron area. And I try my best because, and I do the podcast, and I cover a lot of things, but, when I'm focused on something and I really think it's of importance, my teeth are in it. And my teeth are in this with you, Heath, because I know what you, Dan Landy, Paula Allen, Colleen Hardy, Travis Eldridge, I know everything that everyone is doing is for, more importantly, the children first, in hopes that the parents and the adults in the room will listen. But I wanted to thank you for coming on and having this moment with me, because I was lost for because I'm a Libra. Well, you are too.
Yeah.
It's just I think I take it a little bit more. I take it a different direction. And thank goodness, being younger than I am, being more mature than I am, and having much wisdom that I respect. I'm glad that I was able to have this episode with you. because I know what you're doing is the right thing. Would you like to mention at all any kind of future publications that may be coming out in a month or so? Or should we just wait for an appropriate time for which to
No, I don't want to tip my hand, but I
there you
believe
go.
in the
There you
next
go.
month there's going to be something that is going to get folks' attention that will be coming to light about the Cameron district.
I'm gonna say prayers for you, Heath, because again, everything that you're doing, Dan's doing, all involved, it's a finely run machine. And even as they try to tweak having a minister of truth or minister of misinformation that they want to hide, try to put down and suppress everything that you and everyone else are working so hard on. It's just a waste of the tax-paying dollars. It's a waste of time, and it's the wrong thing that they're doing. They should just repair what's in front of them.
You know, they're not going to. It's self-preservation at this point. Folks are trying to keep their salary, they're trying to keep their job, and to admit after all this time that maybe I was right, that brings everything, puts a spotlight on everything. If I'm right about this, was I also right about these other things? They're not going to do it. They're not. The only way I believe that we're going to see any change is when the people in the community finally say enough, and they start to vote for school board candidates who also agree this is enough. All of this stuff needs to stop, and they need to get back to the basics. We need to raise our grade level proficiency of these kids. In 15 years, it's dropped 35%.
That's sad.
It is.
That's sad because all they're doing is showing that their interest is, of course, in getting state money for sports, theatrical, every activity under the sun that goes under the roof of an education. Every activity under the sun, but reading, writing, and arithmetic. They don't want to touch those subjects.
No. They know that the grade level proficiency is bad across the board for the kids. And the numbers are even worse when you look at the kids that are low income families. The grade level proficiency in reading is about 26.5% for 38% of the student body population. 38% of all the kids in the Cameron School District are considered low income families or from low income families. Among that 38%, the grade level proficiency for reading is 26.5%. So the least among us are struggling even more than the rest of the student body.
That's very sad.
It is. Right, it is. And they're coming from a family that is low income. And I know that in the United States, you can always rise above your stature if you apply yourself. We're one of the few nations in the world where being born into a sect, well, not a sect, a caste, doesn't mean that you're going to stay in that job. Somebody that's from a poor family can go and become a brain surgeon in the United States. But we are not equipping our kids in our public school system from a low-income family to be able to succeed in life. 26.5% of them can read. That's horrible. And we're spending millions of dollars just in our little school for 1,600 kids. Millions of dollars a year to educate the kids, but only 26.5% of, 576 kids are considered low income. Only 26% of those kids are able to read. So 38% of 1,600 is 576. From 576, 26.5% is 149. 149 kids of the 576 who are from low-income families can read at grade level.
Wow. I'll tell you, I think the message that I'm hoping to hear from you is good. So I'm going to ask you, do you see this now perhaps coming to light? Do you think there's going to be, in fact, a possibility of moving forward in a positive direction, working with this staff, with this administration, in trying to get our kids up to par, as I would like to say, at least up to par, and better grades, of course? Do you think that maybe these, between the Clinton County leader and Q's views, people are going to pay attention now and maybe get a little bit more involved?
I just lost you.
Uh-oh. You're frozen up. There you go. Do you see me?
I do now. Yep.
Do you think, my question was, can you leave this program at this moment on a more positive, happier note?
Yes and no. I still haven't seen anything from the Board of Education that indicates that they're taking this seriously yet. They have not come out and said, hey, we're going to have a community engagement meeting. We're going to talk about the book issues. We're going to talk about the grade level proficiency of our students. We're going to talk about plans to raise those grade level proficiencies. We're not seeing anything like that from the district yet. Maybe they're working on it behind closed doors, but they love to pat themselves on the back. So if they were doing these things, I can't help but feel it would be something that they would be shouting to the public. The knucklehead that's talking about the low grade level proficiency is wrong. We're working to correct these things, and here's the plan. I don't know that they have a plan in place. Am I optimistic of the outcome after the last meeting? I absolutely am. There is blood in the water, so to speak. They are starting to eat their own. Instead of the staff that want the books coming after me and calling me names, they've now turned inwards. They're looking at the superintendent of the district, who I've been saying he's not a leader, for more than a year now. They've turned their attention to him, and they're going after him. And if things were going well for them, they wouldn't go after him, because he would be the one supporting what it is that they want to do. They're not going after me, they're going after him. And if they're not going after me, they're going after Mr. Robinson. It's because it's not going well for them. I believe that we have seen our first crack in this foundation. And there's a crack, and I can see the crack. It's time to start applying pressure.
Well, I do feel personally that and I agree with you, until the administration and staff actually changes they're going to have to change, pretty much do it almost 180 within reason. A 180 is what I believe they're going to have to do. But I do see the positiveness of the media in this area. I don't look at them as fake media like I do the larger corporations and cables here in the United States. And of course, I never had any respect for the Citizens Observer. I've called it a ragmag before. I can basically say it is no more, because the editor that was so jaded, one-sided, biased, he left town like a coward, with his tail between his legs, never to, of course, continue writing for that publication again. So once again, I'm very happy that he's gone, and that Jamie Honeycutt has come in, and that Q just keeps writing articles on Q's Views on Facebook, that just keeps writing articles that are phenomenal. I like his work.
I do too.
I do
too. And for the record, both of these guys have been critical of me and the way that I've handled this. That doesn't bother me at all. They're holding me accountable. If I've done something that is wrong and they report on it, they should report on it. They should hold me accountable the same as they do our public officials. I have no qualm with them holding me accountable. I'm glad that they do. Because if they came out in every paper and mirrored the statements that I was making, it wouldn't be effective. But if he comes out when I take a misstep and he points it out, yeah, he was not accurate here, he was over the top, he was mean, he was a bully, whatever they're going to say, they're holding me accountable. And that gives the appearance of being fair and balanced. And I entirely and completely support them both doing it. When I'm wrong, I'm wrong. They should tell me that I'm wrong, and they should show the public that I was wrong. I don't have an issue with it. The other paper, the Cameron paper, not a single time would they print anything that we sent them. They would not print articles that supported and largely defended us. They refused. They would only print one side of this fight. And that is why it has gone on so long, because the information is just not getting out there. When you talk to the people on the street, they believe what is printed in the paper because that's what they read. That's what they see. And now Mr. Honeycutt and his paper and Q's Views are starting to take an interest in the fight with the district, and they're starting to show the people what's really going on. Mr. Honeycutt has even submitted his own sunshine law requests. So he's not getting the information that he's using from us, which I think is fantastic. He is doing this independently. He's doing this without us. He's not coming to us and saying, hey, what are you working on? It's fantastic. That is how the media is supposed to be. It is going to be fair. It is going to be balanced. And I believe it's going to give an accurate look at what's going on behind the curtain at the Cameron School District. And only by doing that, truly by informing the public, will these folks be able to make a good decision on what to do. And that good decision comes around every April when we vote in more board members. Truly, I believe that's the only avenue that we have to turn the ship around, is to change the board member makeup and get some folks in there that are more conservative and Christian in their beliefs and are willing to stand there and lead, or sit there and lead. We don't have any leadership currently.
Well, to make a mistake is to make a discovery. And I know that you, myself, I think Dan Landy a time or two has had to say, oopsie daisy, we made a mistake. Sorry about that. And be apologetic and be sincere in those apologies.
Yes.
But the best and sincerest of those apologies is not, of course, to do it a second time.
Right.
So, Heath, I didn't want to keep you much longer. Is there anything you'd like to say?
Oh, no, and I'm currently kind of a bachelor. Everybody in my house is busy or gone, so I've got time. It's not that big of a deal. But no, I am more optimistic now in this coming up on 2-year fight with the district, isn't it? It's not going to be much longer. It'll be 2 years, 4 months, and it'll have been 3 months, and it'll have been 2 years. Anyway, I'm more optimistic now than I have ever been that we are starting to make impact, and folks are starting to see what's going on. I look forward to the change. And if you don't mind giving me the platform to do it, I would like to say that my fight is not with the teachers. People keep saying you're denigrating the teachers, you're tearing down the teachers, you're going after the teachers. That's not the case. There are a few teachers that are advocating for the kids to read this content that I have an issue with. I understand that these teachers, their hands are tied. They're told, here's the curriculum, go teach it. They're told, this is what needs to go on in the classroom, go and make it happen. I have never lumped all the teachers in and blamed all the teachers for what's going on within our district. What is being taught in the district and the behavior within the district is our politicians at the state level and the administration of our school district and the Board of Education. If we had leadership within the Board of Education and the superintendent's office, these shenanigans wouldn't be going on. And I think that I can make a case, point to an example here. There's not been a single teacher out of how many, 100 of them, just at the high school, I think. I don't remember what the numbers are, I won't say. There hasn't been a single one that has come out publicly and said, some of these books are a little bit over the top. Why has there not been a single teacher? I don't accept that there are no teachers that believe this content is inappropriate. Or, yes. I don't believe there's a single teacher that believes this content is appropriate for the kids.
But they're just afraid to say anything.
Right. And that is a reflection of the leadership. If the leadership will not allow a counter opinion to what it is that the district is doing to be spoken aloud without fear of reprisal and the loss of their job, that is a reflection of poor leadership. The only folks that are coming forward because they are emboldened to do it, they know that there won't be a consequence to pay, are those that support these sexually explicit books being in the hands of the kids. Even if there is only one teacher, and I don't believe that that is accurate, if there's only one teacher that says these books are over the top, they're afraid to come forward. They refer to me as a bully all the time.
They what?
They refer to me as a bully. I'm not the bully in this. I am standing up to the bully. I'm standing up to the superintendent, the school district, and the Board of Education.
I agree with you because, I call him a tyrant. I call Matt Robinson a tyrant. I call him a comrade, His Excellency, all the little names I have for him. And when a person, and it wouldn't matter if it was a woman that was the superintendent, any person in that position abusing their power, suppressing freedom of speech, getting a raise for lower grades,
right.
And I'm going to say it like I feel it, but doctoring the books, for instance, of the in-school fighting, just so they can be given more grant money because they appear to be a safer school than the next, when in reality, they've had some issues this past year. And every year they get worse and worse. Am I correct?
They are definitely not getting better. And yes, I have been into the school district before and said, I am here to make a bullying report. I asked for the bullying report. Guess what I never made? I never completed the bullying report. They never gave it to me. They took my verbal statement, and that as far as they went. And when I asked how many incidents of bullying have been reported, the answer was 0. I've been in there twice to report bullying, but the answer was 0. The high school reported 0 incidents of bullying.
And that would be because technically they're monitoring themselves, correct? Would that be a portion of it?
Yes, and that's something that they report to MoDESI. So it's tracked for the district. The number of violent incidents, bullying, they report those things to the state. And because I didn't physically sign out that paperwork, although I was standing there and I wasn't there for a cup of tea and crumpets. I was there raising Cain because of what was going on within the district. They never completed the report. It was deliberate because it reflects poorly on them when they have incidents of bullying and assault that are going on within the district. And if they're doing that for the bullying report, what else are they not reporting the way that it should be? What other numbers are they fudging?
Well, I'd like to know what they're doing, like, for instance, with the kids that are smoking pot in the hallways, going from class to class. I mean, in the bathrooms.
Yeah.
I mean, they hit those vape pens and blow it out. And I'm going to say, I'm an adult.
In the classroom, Vincent.
What's that?
they're doing it in the classroom. They make a game of it. They've got a hoodie on, and they'll hit the vape pen in the hoodie and then exhale into their hoodie. Apparently, with a vape pen, it doesn't have the strong smell of marijuana like the old school marijuana cigarettes do. There's not the odor to it. They do it in the classroom. They make a game of it.
I was hoping I wasn't going to hear that, but yeah, it doesn't surprise me.
It doesn't getting away with smoking dope in the class.
So they don't keep records of how many students are getting busted with drugs or drinking. That could be another one, obviously. It's what we did when we were in school. I don't know about you. I knew people that drank every now and then between classes.
Right.
Actually, I don't think personally, I never really did that. And I don't think really many of the kids did either, although that was the next level. And I would say probably in the mid 80s, that might have been going on. I did hear about that kids would actually bring in flasks in the 80s/90s. And of course, cocaine was real big. I just went like that. Cocaine was big. Drinking was big. And like you said, the pungent smell of pot, now it's flowery, or it's more like a cologne if they blow it into their shirts. And yet these numbers are not being turned over probably accountability-wise the way they should be.
I question it. Maybe they have fixed it. I don't know. But when I went to the district twice, and it may have even been in the same semester of the same school year, and reported 2 incidents of bullying, and the answer is we had 0 incidents for the school year. I'm guessing that I wasn't the only parent that went in there to fuss about it, that there were other incidents. And there had to have been at least one where a school district employee caught it and made the report.
Yeah, you would figure 1,600 students, right? And
Yeah.
everything is like Willy Wonka land, and it's like going to the Palisades Park, and all the kids are happy. There's no one getting beat up. There's no one getting bullied, poked, made fun of.
That's not the case, don't we?
We know that's not the case.
Yeah.
And I also sent you an article about the school safety officers instead of using school resource officers.
Yes.
And that gentleman, by the way, I didn't even know this, but he had both his ears gauged, and he had that mask on in the middle of January 22, actually, which made me think to myself, we already know the masks didn't do a darn thing. And yet this gentleman is wearing a mask, which would make it very difficult with kids in school, because of all the kids running around with masks, there ain't no telling just, who's doing what, basically. It's almost like you have to go back to the video cameras to say who was in a hallway when this occurred. But so school safety officers, I think a reply that I received back from that, sending it out to a few, is that that position should really be the responsibility of the principals or a school counselor / disciplinarian.
I think so, Vincent. As they describe the position and the responsibilities of that particular position, he's going around making sure that there's no shenanigans going on in the bathroom, that the kids aren't smoking dope, and that's what the assistant principal is for. In our particular district, he handles the discipline issues. That's his responsibility. They're just wasting tax dollars.
Well, it just appears as though a lot of these schools that are getting their own police force, as I call it, are again, they're just spreading that. They're making it where you can, sorry, I'm losing a train of thought for a moment. They're making it where you can't really pinpoint who's I don't want to say use the word bad guy, but who is doing the indiscretions. the teacher, the staff member, administrator member, school board member. And it's kind of like, a shell game. And we're chasing. But I'm thinking at this point, personally, I'm kind of optimistic like you, or I'm leaning in that direction. I'm just going to be very hopeful that the people in Cameron start realizing voting is important, because only 20% of the registered voters voted this time around. Technically, to me, I think the turnout was deplorable. That's my opinion. Horrible. When you've got 80% of the people that say school boards aren't that important to vote on. That's what that told me.
Yeah.
So, we can pinpoint it to the, say, parents, family structure. We've got problems. The school is the next, but then we've got the adults that are outside of the families, like myself. I don't have a child in school. And many other people don't, but they still should be actively involved, because chances are they're a grandparents of someone.
I agree.
Or an uncle or an aunt.
And if nothing else, they're a taxpayer. They have a vested interest in the success of those kids that come out of that school. Those kids are going to be the ones that are going to be working on their cars, that are going to be the doctor that's taking care of them in 15 years when they're getting a little bit older. Yes, they should have a vested interest in the education that those kids think. If we push out a bunch of kids that are not capable of thinking, they're only following orders, everybody's going to hurt.
I'm going to hope that this coming year that there is a bigger turnout of voters. I'm going to pray that you, Dan Landy, who knows, others will put their name in the hat to run for those offices. Because I think seeing 7 hands at every meeting, 8, 9 hands anymore, I don't know what it is, but seeing all the hands go up at the same time and no one has a difference of opinion. I'm looking at the 2 people that were, one that was, I don't know how she managed it. I really don't. She's a career-long school board member that's not doing anything for the kids. And then, of course, we have this go-along individual in Ryan Murphy. I can say that. That's not your opinion. And I listened to him talk the other day, and it's like, wow, he's going to fit in just fine. They're all almost like the Stepford wives. They're all just AI, one mindset of thinking. That's it. And we are going to have to really look and start preparing a little earlier for the school board elections for the district this coming year. We've got another crack at it, Heath. And I would like to think that you and Dan Landy would give it another shot, because I think the worm has turned. I think the worm's going to start turning. And if it's a crack in the foundation, it's going to get bigger. I'm okay with that too.
Yeah.
It's going to have to happen.
We'll see. I'd like to find somebody that would run. And I believe that our little exposed Facebook page is making an impact. And I would like to continue to do that. And hopefully there's somebody else that shares a concern that's willing to step up and run for board. And I'll continue to do what I'm doing. We'll see. I don't know. We've got time to figure it out. We've got time to try to get somebody that is willing, that wants change, to step up and to lead. We need leadership. We don't have leadership. We don't. Ignoring the community and just kicking this problem down the road is not leadership.
Well, I'd like to see maybe, and I'm thinking outside the box, but if there was that one teacher that has, by the way, the qualifications for which to possibly replace this Matt Robinson, the superintendent of the Cameron School District, if that voice, if he or she could step up and say, you know what, I'm not about all this, and I think we do need a change. It does start at the top. Matt Robinson, you got to go. Someone has to step in there. It could be a person that's worse. But I've got to tell you, I don't think that would be the case.
Well, the problem with that is at the discretion of the Board of Education. They're the only people that can encourage the superintendent to leave. Nobody else can. And they would also be in charge of hiring a replacement if the superintendent were to leave. So if you don't have a different group of people in there and they're happy with the job that Mr. Robinson is currently doing, they're going to find somebody just like Mr. Robinson, or like you said, that would even be worse. Somebody that believes in diversity, inclusion, and equity, so that believes in those things, that wants the trans issues that are being fought in the bigger schools, that wants to bring them to our little school. It absolutely could be worse.
What do you think about a saturation of emails to the Board of Education?
They don't care.
What's that, sir?
They don't care. They don't care. I don't know that it would do any good. Maybe if there was enough folks that would say enough of the books, maybe they would pay attention, but they don't respond to the emails. I have the majority of the board members. The only one that ever responds to my email is the president of the Board of Education. I've emailed them all. Well, how many times did Peck say in our campaign? Hundreds of times. They receive hundreds of emails from me. They don't respond. I ask them questions. What is the literary value of this book? There were 5 members last year that were on 2 different committees. One was a policy committee, and I forget what the other one was, or community relations committee. I emailed all of the committee members and said, hey, when did you meet? What were you working on? And what are the public records that are available from the committees in what it is that you accomplished? 5 of them were on committees. There was not a single response by a single committee member to help me answer my questions. They all ignored me. They don't care. They don't care.
Well, things get put on back burners for a moment. The heat gets turned up on other areas. And as I said, I do believe that a change is going to happen. It's going to have to happen. It has to happen. And the pendulum's going to have to swing again. And I think we're at the pinnacle, at the top, Heath, of a very positive change in the long run. It's just a matter of getting that information out to the people. And the more you keep plugging away at it, with the Cameron R-1 School Board Exposed page, the better this is going to be.
And that's school district exposed, by the way, not school board exposed.
School district exposed.
School district exposed, correct.
Oh, goodness. Why? I wish you would have told me that sooner. That's okay. That's okay. Because I'm going to probably put this, probably going to start placing this on a lot of future podcasts just the same. So I hope you won't mind.
No.
Just let people know to go there. That people need to.
We've got over 300 followers on that little page now.
Well, I'm gonna try my best to see if we can get that tripling and quadrupling very soon. That I can assure you. I want to do that for you because I think it's very important. The Cameron R-1 School District Exposed.
There we go.
Correct.
Yep.
There you go. So, Heath, I thank you for taking this time, for shedding a glimmer of light and hope. I like the fact that you have been very diligent, very effective, very efficient, compiling, documenting, exposing all of this, all these uglies. We need it. And we don't want to, we all want to hear about the good. No one wants to hear about the bad. I mean, I think we both would agree on that. No one likes to hear bad.
Right.
You know, we want to only think that things are really the best. But in this case here, this educational system under this leadership is really failing our children.
I agree. And it's not just the leadership, it's the state. It's a state issue. It truly is. The education system in the state of Missouri is an absolute mess. It's a mess in most states across our nation. Public schools having a monopoly on the public education system is exactly how we got here. They've got to stop the nonsense. They have got to allow the public tax dollars to follow the child so the parent can pull that kid out of a failing public school and take them wherever they want. Tie the money to the child and not to the district. If the district is failing and it's not educating the kids, it should go out of business. Allow the free market and capitalism to work. It'll work.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head with that one for sure. And you have with so many topics, Heath, and I thank you. I really do. I thank you very much. That was a Minnesota goodbye. I think I said this about a half hour ago. But seriously speaking, I want to wind it down. But I do want you to close with what you feel you want everyone that will see this, hopefully share it, pass it along in the community of Cameron, Missouri. I'd like for you to just have this moment by yourself and give us an out on this, sir, please.
Sure. Folks, while I'm fighting this issue here in Cameron, this is not something that's only happening here. It's happening across our nation. If you look, you're going to find that these issues are also occurring within your own school district. Our public education systems are failing our children. We're spending more money now than we ever have, and our grade level proficiency ratings are in the tank. They're horrible. The teachers in the school district here in Cameron, there's a lot of amazing teachers. My fight is not with the teachers. My fight is with those teachers that want to sexualize our children. There's no reason to sexualize the kids in a public school system. It's wrong. It's immoral, and it shouldn't be done. I don't want to fight the teachers. My fight is not with the teachers. My fight is with the leadership that is allowing this to continue. My fight is with the Board of Education that sits on their laurels and ignores these issues, ignores the community, and ignores the real damage that is being done to our children. Sexualizing kids is not going to end well. It's not going to work well for us. We've got to stop it. We've got to clean up our school districts. We've got to remove the garbage, and we've got to return back to educating our kids. Our kids are worth it.
Thank you, Heath. Thank you very, very much, man.
Mm-hmm.
And we will talk again soon.
Outstanding. Thank you for having me.
I don't know if you know this, but Dan wanted to catch lunch tomorrow.
Oh, outstanding.
So maybe you can join us. So
Yep. Let me know when and where, and I'll see what I can do.
thinking high noon.
Outstanding. I like it.
Thank you.
Yep. Good talking to you.
As always, you, and this isn't for entertainment, folks. This is real life. You're not getting paid for any of this, are you, Heath?
No, I'm not. As a matter of fact, the opposite is true. I'm putting a bunch of my time and my own money into this fight. No, I'm not getting paid. There's no benefit for me doing this. I'm not getting anything out of it.
Well, I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm stressing the point that everyone that's involved, no one is backed by big dollars. No one's being told to go on a certain kind of an agenda. I believe we're just following our hearts, our common sense, and our brains.
Correct.
Of what is and of what should be.
Yep, and what he directs us to do.
Yes. And truly, we are guided by God. Most of us, all of us that are involved, we believe in that higher power. I kind of kicked myself in the tail a few weeks back about saying, hey, I could have done this 6 months, blah, blah, blah. But no, it's in God's time. It's in his time. And you've said it very well to me many times, Heath, and you're absolutely correct. So again, I thank you. And I'm just going to hope that we're going to hope that Cameron continues getting more and more involved and educated. So thanks, Heath.
You're more than welcome, and I look forward to coming back in July after the school board meeting. I believe that there are going to be fireworks in July, and it's going to be.
Well, I think there's going to be fireworks starting July 1st. It's just the lighting of the fuse of things to come.
Yeah, I think there's going to be something big in July to share with everybody.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Talk to you later.
Yes, sir. Thank you. You know, folks, this is a little community. Yes, I remember one of my other producers, and I love Chad to death. We all have lives going on, differences, changes, so on and so forth. We've got to adapt. We've got to make those changes. We got to be forthright and continuing on. Yes, I could talk about the news quite a bit. Tomorrow, I'm interested, by the way. I don't know about you guys, but I'm interested in this debate. It's going to be incredible to see my president, Donald J. Trump, having a debate with a puppet of the United States, Joe Biden. That's just my opinion. I don't know. I guess you can tell I have my loyalties. I'm not going to change that. We're going down the wrong path across America, all over. I mean, we're seeing we're beginning. I just saw it in Gallatin today. In Gallatin today, a man followed his girlfriend and baby into the bathroom at a local store and beat her unmercifully. And then he was so tweaked out, he started beating himself up. Now, granted, he didn't give himself the damage that he did to that 4-year-old and that girl. I guess his girlfriend. Folks, it's even happening in little towns where drugs, anger management or lack thereof, where people are turning a blind eye. They don't care. They're only self-absorbed in their own worlds. We have to start looking at our community. We have to start looking at our neighbors. And we have to start saying, how can we be a better neighbor? And I hate to think that I'm going to resort to Mr. Rogers, who was, believe it or not, I believe a Green Beret Marine. I'm 99.9% sure, but, won't you be my neighbor type situation? Because we want good people to stick together. We have this in the educational system across the nation. I touched on it lightly, saying that if you're a God-fearing veteran and a parent, the DOJ and the FBI deem us, and I say that with me and included, as terrorists. Well, if this is what a terrorist is, I'm proud of it, because I know I'm doing the right thing respectfully, or at least trying. Hope you'll try and do the same. In the meantime, thank you very much for joining me. Gerald, I know, Ruth, you're out there somewhere, and so on and so forth. But seriously speaking, thank you for taking this time with us. And from the bottom of my heart, God bless each and every one of you. Peace.
No way to throw it all. a generation of my time.